When I first looked at the Phantom Idols personas feature in P5X, I had one reaction. Really? These are the one they pick? It actually started with a comment I got under one of my videos. Someone said they noticed most of the personas were from Greek mythology and hoped the game would branch out into other myths too. They didn't say it outright, but it made me stop and wonder, is it really that one note? And honestly, yeah, it kind of is. But it's not just that most of them are Greek. After digging into it a bit more, I realized the bigger patterns. They're almost all minor deities as well, which make the list feel even more underwhelming. Compared to the main lineup, where everyone's personas is a famous outlaw, trickster, or rebel, the Phantom Idols feel like they went with a bunch of random mythological characters. But the more I look into it, the more I started to notice another patterns. And now, I'm wondering if it's actually trying to say something subtle, something kind of thoughtful. Here, let me show you what I mean. When you look at the personas used by the Phantom Idols in P5X, something jumps out immediately. They're not famous warriors or legendary heroes. They're not even well-known gods most of the time. Instead, a lot of them are based on background figures from mythology, especially Nereids, Muses, and Nymphs. And if you know anything about those groups, you'll know they weren't meant to take center stage. Muses are best known for inspiring others, usually poets, artists, or musicians, but they rarely have their own stories. They exist to guide or motivate someone else. Nereids are sea spirits. You'll sometimes see them in myth when a storm needs calmings or when someone drowns. They appear, help, and then disappear again. And then there are the nymphs, figures tied to forests, rivers, mountains. They often exist to explain a specific place or natural force. Why does the spring flow eternally? Why is this tree sacred? Oh, there were a nymphs here once. That's the role they play. That said, most of these figures don't even have story of their own. They references once or twice, sometimes just by name, because they serve as context for someone else's story. So why did P5X pick them? To answer that, we need to look even closer. Let's take a look at some of the actual personas used in P5X. Two of them are Nemesis and Absurdus. Unless you're deep into Greek mythology, you probably haven't heard of them. And that's fair. They are part of the larger group known as the 50 Nereids, daughters of the sea god Nereus. Their sister, Thetis, is a Nereid too, but she's more well known. She's the mother of Achilles, the greatest warriors of the Trojan War. However, Achilles wasn't called the greatest warrior of the Trojan War for no reason. He was nearly invincible. According to the myth, his mother tried to make him immortal by dipping him in the river Styx, a sacred river that flowed through the underworld. It was said to grant divine protection to anything it touched, and Thetis hoped it would shield him from death. The only part she didn't submerge was the heel she held him by, leaving him with a single vulnerabilities. Even so, Achilles grew up to be fast, fearless, and nearly unstoppable in battles. However, the prophecy was clear. If Achilles went to war, he would win great glory, but he would also die young. When Thetis learned of this, she's overwhelmed by grief. And in that moment, she doesn't cry alone. All of her sisters, the 50 Nereids, rise from the sea to be with her. They don't speak, they don't act, they just show up and stay beside her while she mourns. Nemesis and Absurdus don't do anything that alter or affect the story in any way that would earn them a spotlight in this story, but they are present. They give the moment scale. They make deities' grief feel even more real. And maybe that's the point. These characters might be minors, but they are not meaningless. They support the emotional weight. They add depth simply by being there. And that alone would be interesting patterns for P5X to follow. But there's actually something else going on here. Something that doesn't just connect these personas to their myth, but connect them back to not Persona 5, but to Persona 3. So let's go even deeper. Take Cleodora, a mountain nymph with the ability to tell future using stones. You, again, probably haven't heard of her. And honestly, who does? There's no dramatic story, no major feat. She's just there. But she had a son, and she named him after the mountain they live on, Thanatos. He's the one who went on to found one of the oldest cities in the region. And more than that, he refined his mother's gift. Instead of reading stone, he's developed augury, the art of reading birds' flight to predict the future. Cleodora is barely remembered, but her legacy, it built into the foundation of a city, a place where thousands of people spend their life. It's carried on in the practices that follow her. Now, take another persona from the game, Calliope, one of the 9 muses. She's not famous for anything she did personally, but she's remembered as the mother of Orpheus. Orpheus inherited her artistic gift, and his story became one of the most emotional and enduring myths in Greek history. He could charm gods and even silence death with his music. And Calliope is remembered because of what she's passed on. Same thing with Prosimna. She and her sisters were nymphs who cared for Hera when she was still a child. No big myth, no epic journey, just caring for others. But Hera would grow up to become one of the most powerful goddesses in the entire pantheons. And Prosimna's name was given to the town near Aigis in her honors. These figures weren't heroes, they weren't warriors, but they were there at the beginning of something important. That's what all these characters have in common. Their stories aren't famous, but their influence survives through the people they help or the places they shape. Their impact is indirect, but it lasts. And that idea that a person's story can continue through others, that's a theme of Persona 3 that many don't talk about. But it is one that stays with me the most. It's easy to focus on the themes of death and grief in that game. But legacy is just as or even more powerful. You see it in Akinari, who dies young, but leaves a story behind, a message to the next generation, the generation whom he himself cannot directly interact with. You see it in the bookstore couples, struggling with the memories of their son. They're holding on to a tree, the only thing that they have left to remind them of their son. But as they saw how many students that were taught by their son show up to stand beside them to protest the cutting down of the tree of their beloved son, they realized that the tree was not the only things that keep the memories of their son alive. They realized his memories still live on in everyone who remember him. Legacy doesn't always start with legends. Sometimes it starts with a lesser being, a woodland fairies, a minor sea deities, or even just an ordinary person who look out for the one they love. If you're still here, chances are that you care about the quieter theme that often get overlooked. I've got another video that touches on legacy from a very different angle, through Aigis. If that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave it in the link here.